Hi, this is Tab with Tab's Pink Elephant. I thought it was very important for me to walk you through my journey. I think sometimes as women, we think that we're the only ones that are going through something and that we're the only ones isolated and that, nobody understands. And we all may have different areas that we're dealing with, but as women, we're holding it down on so many levels that sometimes we don't think that someone else is going through it. So I want to take you with me through this journey in 2017, actually it's May of 2016. You see, I'm not that I'm blotting it out, but it was May of 2016. And stop, just kind of almost close your eyes. Okay? You have just seen some video footage of a car under an 18-wheeler. I was in that car that you just saw, that was just shown. I was in that vehicle. And let me tell you how I ended up under that vehicle, what my day looked like, okay? Come on. So my flight, even before it touched down, I'm in the airport at my not at my destination, but actually where I was flying out of. I'm there at the airport. I'm ready to catch my flight to go home. And I actually text my best friend because there was a woman walking through the airport with some stilettos on. And I text her a picture of these stilettos and we had a little laugh about it. I was like, how is she walking like this in these stilettos? Airports are so busy. How in the world is she doing this? So we were just kind of texting back and forth. I oftentimes go back and look at that text just to think about it. And so I get on my flight, headed back home. My flight touches down. I'm tired. I am. I'm tired. I've had a long day. It's a business job. It's a business trip. I've had a long day. So I go to my car and I actually found my car. You know how when you're at the airport, you better write down where your car is parked or you may not find it. So I wrote it down and I actually went straight to my car, got in my car and started to drive back. I actually flew into an airport that was about 45 minutes from my home. Yeah, right. 2 hours and maybe some change from my home. And so I get in my car and I'm headed back home. My then husband, he called me and my youngest daughter was with him and my oldest daughter was in another room and they said, hey, so you're here. My then husband, he actually tracked me on an application where you can see where I am at all times. So he said, oh, I see you've touched down. I see you're here. I said, yep, I'm headed your way. And so my youngest daughter gets on the phone and we're talking or whatever. Well, I stopped to get some coffee. And I'm not even a coffee drinker, but I was just a little tired. So I said, I think I need to get me some coffee. So I got me some coffee, started to drink it. We even talked again, another call. I even talked to my aunt. I talked to my best friend, who the one I was texting in the airport. Just conversations going on, in the car. That was the last thing I remembered, was talking to my youngest daughter and my then husband. That was the last thing I remembered. And I'm getting ready to share something. Tabitha, why are you sharing this in front of a camera of thousands, maybe millions of people? And I haven't even shared this. No one has ever even asked me. So if you don't ask me, I don't share it. So you didn't ask. So I'm going to share it. The last thing I remembered, like I said, was being on the phone. Then, if I think back, I thought I was in heaven. Something was going on. I was like, am I in heaven? Am I having a dream? I feel like I'm in heaven. I was like, wow. Oh, wow. I can just remember just thinking that I was dreaming that I was in heaven. Did not realize that I had suffered massive head trauma in this accident. And then I remembered seeing my dad. And I remember people talking to me. And I was like, wow, what is really going on here? Then I remembered my hair, someone dealing with my hair. Not that I'm vain, but I remembered someone trying to do something to my hair. And I was like, I later found out that my beautician was called after I got out of the hospital. Once I got out of the hospital, because, I'm just wanted to look decent. I guess they said she would want to look decent. You need to make sure she looks decent. So she had come to, do something with my hair. I remember that, but it was almost like I was in heaven. I'm just being honest with you. You hear these stories about people, they say they die and, all these things go on and they come back. I now can kind of relate to that because I remember feeling so wonderful. I just did. And now think about it, I'm going through some head trauma. As you could see with the car, it going under the 18-wheeler, where I was sitting, it's almost like I was protected. Right where I was a protection. Like an angel had covered me. And you saw for yourself, that is my vehicle. So I know that I was protected. But this whole time, I didn't feel like head trauma. I just remembered feeling beautiful, wonderful. Then I started to come to myself. I got home. Now, there were many people that came to the hospital. That was great. They were praying for me. They were speaking life over me. My family back in North Carolina was praying for me. My girls were there taking care of me, making sure I had what I needed. Everyone in the home was making sure I had what I needed, even to a point where my best friend, listen to this. Now tell me, when they say a man lay down his life for his friend in the Bible, let me tell you what she did. She came to where I was living and she stayed with me for months to take care of me. She had a job. She literally talked to her employer and said, hey, my friend was in an accident. I really, truly, I need to go where she is. I need to take care of her. That, I don't even look at her the same now. She was always a friend, but she's at another level. I can tell you that. She came and took such good care of me, along with my girls, but they were in school. They had things that they had to do. And my then husband, he went back to work. So it was just me. So she said, hey, I got you, Tab. And she did have me. Now at this time I'm coming out and I'm starting to feel out of sorts. When a person breaks a leg or they twist an ankle, breaks an arm, we see it. We see that healing process take place. Their arm may be in a sling and maybe in a cast. But what about when it happens to this brain? You don't see it. You see the shell of the person. You see the person, but you never know what's going on up here. Well, I'm going to tell you what was going on. I was out of sorts. And when I say out of sorts, I would just burst out and start crying. No apparent reason. I would be like, why are you crying? I don't know. Just crying. I couldn't control it. I knew that some healing was going to have to take place, and I knew that was going on. When I look back, I knew it was going on. Now, when I was in it, no, I didn't know what was going on because I just felt like everything was coming at me. Even to make a sentence was painful. Everything I did was just like painful. And I'm sure I sounded pretty crazy to the folks who were around me. I'm sure I sounded like I had head trauma because I was in this bad car accident. And thank God I was not decapitated, because if you see the photo that you saw, it could have happened easily. So the only time I felt like in my own, like I could function, I could think, was when I read John 17. You might say, why were you reading John 17? I can remember being in such a place that I said, God, I need help. I need help. I don't even know where the bathroom is right now. I don't even know what's going on in my life right now. I need some help. And I can remember, not at that moment, but I can remember waking up hearing John 17. So I started reading John 17. And when I started reading John 17, I wouldn't feel out of sorts. I actually could comprehend what I was reading. Now, this was not the norm. Think about it like this. My daughter, who had her driver's permit at 15, had to drive me to the grocery store. And she knew it was always said she needs to get out. She needs to start kind of getting herself acclimated. She needs to think. So she had her permit, and I had my license, of course, so she could drive me up the street to the grocery store. And she would drive me to the grocery store, and I would just burst out crying. And she would take her hand and just put it on my leg, put it on my knee, and say, Mom, it's going to be okay. And I was like, I can't control this. But every time I read John 17, I understood it. And let me tell you what's so powerful about John 17. It's basically Jesus praying for us. And he says, I am made perfect in one. We are one. This is what he said. Me, you, and the Holy Spirit are one. I'm praying that we're one and that you know that we are one. I want you to know that we're one. We can't be separated. So what I would think when I was reading this was, well, if we're one, then I shouldn't be thinking crazy thoughts. I shouldn't be out of control with my thoughts. I shouldn't be, okay, we're one. You're not, God, you're not Looney Tunes. You're not, you're not. So we're one. I could actually comprehend it. I would put it down. I close my eyes, maybe take a nap, wake up. There was that thing again. It was like, what? What's going on? Where am I? What's going on? And like I said, keep in mind what's going on the outside of me is probably looking pretty sketchy. Think about if that's going on the outside, what's going on in this head of mine. Okay? And I believe sometimes as believers, as Christians in the body of Christ, we don't even know how to even address those type of things because it's like, that's head trauma. We know we can pray for a leg. We know we can pray for an arm. But when someone's dealing with some mental things, I think that kind of goes with another level. It's like, what's really going on here? Is she going to be okay? And I'm going to be honest with you. I thought this. Anyone that's close to me probably were thinking it. Is she going to be, she might be off for the rest of her life. She might not have it all together. Do I want to stick around for this? What is going to happen? What do I need to do? Interesting. See, in this journey, you remember I told you, when you marry, one thing I have learned, we've heard it since we were little kids. To death do us part, sickness and health. It could. It doesn't happen with everyone, but I know we all have had to deal with things. But I will tell you, I thank goodness for the support of my best friend, of my girls, of my family. I'm so thankful for that I'm able to sit here with you and to actually give you my story. You take this journey with me. I'm telling you, whatever you're dealing with right now, you're not the only one. I would encourage you to read John 17. I'm telling you, powerful. Really break it down. Don't breeze over it. When we hear scriptures in church and all these things in church, we're like, oh yeah, he's reading from the Bible. You take it, break it down, really understand what John 17 is saying. It's really saying, if you're with me, it's no deficiencies. If you're with me. Now, if you're outside of me, I can't help you. But that's what he's saying. If you're inside of me, there are no deficiencies there. So that was my saving grace. That really was my saving grace. So I really encourage you to read it and to break it down. I will tell you, in this walk, as I get older, what I'm finding out, we have to begin to truly understand and break down the Word of God. Let's just not breeze over things anymore. Break that thing down. If you have to get a couple of versions of the Bible, let me read this in the Message. Let me read it in I like reading in the International Children's Version sometimes, because I know it's made very simple, very plain. Because I think it came to a point where the rubber hit the road, and I had to live out everything that I had started to believe. I had to live it out. I had to walk it out. It could no longer just be on the page. Those words had to take life. They had to take life in me. So that is the start of this journey. And keep in mind, I haven't even dealt with the Proverbs 5 yet. This was before the Proverbs 5 whole. So think about this now. I started this journey. I needed that. I needed my arms held up. I had always been the strong one, always been the one who, I made sure everybody had what they needed. I made sure everybody knew what they needed, but I needed it at this point in time in my life. Okay? So I may not have been everything that so-called I was. But I will tell you this, I'm getting ready to take you on something that is going to, I received a phone call from my pastor, my former pastor. I received a phone call from him because I had moved out of state, but he still kept in touch. He said, Tabitha, I was praying. Your name came to me. Tabitha, Dorcas. You were raised from the dead. Do you know you were raised from the dead? Do you know that? And I was sitting there thinking, do you really know what you're saying? Because I was raised from the dead. I remember just thinking to myself, when I had the accident and I was thinking, am I in heaven? And what's going on here? I believe I was teeter-tottering between life and death. And God said, you got some more to do. Come on, pulling you back. I can remember that. So when he said that, Tabitha in the Bible, aka Dorcas, was raised from the dead. Wow. He said, I know you've been in that accident and you went through some things. He said, you have been raised from the dead. I'm not the same. One of the things that kept being said to me was, you're not the same. You're not the same in my household. You're not the same. And you know what I said? I'm not. You're spot on. I'm not the same. I am a different woman. I look at things different. Things that used to be important to me are not important to me anymore. I want to please the Father. And all of a sudden I was told, you're being too spiritual. I mean, you're like a holy roller. Matter of fact, I was called a spiritual snob. I'm sorry it came off that way, but when you have teetered between life and death on this side and you get pulled in, you're not going to be the same. And it's up to the folks around you to really understand that and to ask questions and to try to get into your world and where you are, because it was such a traumatic event that, of course, I was not going to be the same, naturally nor spiritually. I was not going to be the same. But I can tell you, I'm so wonderfully blessed right now that I'm able to share this testimony with you. And I know, ladies, if you're going through something right now, remember, you're not the only one. God is there, just like he helped me. Allow him to help you. John 17. Keep in touch with me. I want you to reach out to me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Really, I want to hear from you. And even send me an email at support@tabspinkeelephant.com. If you have a lot to say, send it to support@tabspinkeelephant.com. Let's talk. Let's get into this thing. You tell me your journey, I'll tell you mine. We can probably sharpen each other. You remember, women, people, we got to start sharpening one another. Stop living on the islands. We don't live on an island. So thank you again. Such appreciated that you allow me to come in and have this talk with you. Keep in touch.